Good morning, everyone. This is Jeffe Kennedy, author of Fantasy Romance and Romantic Fantasy. I'm here with my first cup of coffee. That's actually a lie. It's my second cup of coffee. Um, I'm a little rough today. Today is Tuesday, March 9th. It is my mom's birthday. Happy birthday, Mom. Yay. I already exchanged happy birthdays with her. Uh, the alert among you noted that the alert and busybodies, because probably more of you noticed than said, but that I misspoke on Friday when I said I would talk to you on Monday, and you all are like, "Isn't Monday second shot day?" And you were absolutely correct. So that's why there was no podcast yesterday. And so yeah, we drove to Amarillo yesterday morning, got the second shot, got home about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Uh, and the second shot is definitely that booster is a whammy. Whammo-licious. So I woke up, I went to bed early. I got in bed at 8. I was holding out. I was kind of thinking about taking a nap when we got home, and I decided not to, and instead held out as long as I could. So I just watched episodes of Glee until 8, and then went to bed and woke up at midnight with a fever of 101, which is a lot for me because I'm usually down around 95. 95.5 is pretty typical for me. So, I knew as soon as I woke up that I had the fever. And it's down some this morning. It's down around 99.9, which the thermometer, I have one of those thermometers that like gives the happy or sad faces, depending on like if they approve of your body temperature. Most of the time I like don't even register. There's three. There's the happy face, the neutral face, and the unhappy face for fever. And a lot of times I don't even make the bottom face because they're like, you aren't even a human being. so uh, so yeah, I feel like I've been through the ringer. That second shot, she really kicks that immune system into high gear. So that's how David phrased it, that he feels beat up this morning. So we are I almost didn't do the podcast. I thought, well, can I perk up? But I don't know if I'm going to try to write today. I don't know. Um, I have a headache. My teeth hurt, which I remember from my youth, when I would have a fever. My teeth hurt. Why do my teeth hurt when I have a fever? I don't know. Um, and yeah, I'm sore and achy, generally run down. So, a couple of my friends had told me just plan on having a quiet day afterwards, and I thought, oh, it's not going to be that bad. It might be that bad. So we shall see. Um, yeah. So the interesting thing about being there was, they're doing it at the Civic Center in Amarillo, Texas, which is in the Texas Panhandle, about a 4-hour drive from Santa Fe. And this time there was no line to get in. I mean, a line of maybe 10 people. And the big kind of receiving hall where you wait to be processed, and they take people up in rows. And I'm not sure how many people it holds, but the director of, I'm not sure of her exact title. She was there last time we were there too, but she's like the director of the health department. And she's great. I mean, she gets up there and she talks about the vaccine. She talks about all sorts of different stuff, very enthusiastic. And it's interesting because she gets up there and says, she says, we're so happy you guys are here. We are, thank you for coming to get the vaccine because you are contributing to your communities. And it's interesting because I think you guys are probably aware that there has been a fair amount of, um, I don't know, chatter and bitterness from various people about people jumping the line. And we even heard a DJ on the radio the other day going, and he was seriously bitching about it. It was enough that if I ever listened to the radio, I would like not listen to that station anymore. But I have no power that way since I don't listen to him anyway. But and he was just bitching about people jumping the line. He's like, "You're taking vaccines away from the people who really need it, and it's just wrong and selfish and bad." Well, you all know from listening to me a month ago, uh, talking about wrestling with the ethics of going to get the first shot, um, that that we didn't want to be taking the vaccine away from someone who was in a higher danger category. But at this point, here we are in March, um, a lot of people have had their opportunity to go get the vaccine. And the Civic Center, this receiving hall, was easily half empty, maybe even slightly more. And the director of health, we'll just call her that, was getting up there and she was saying, "We are giving half the vaccines every day that we could be." She said, "So please go out and spread the word. Go out, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your coworkers. We want everybody to come in and get the vaccine." And they had the sign, it's like either you're over 65 or you have like one of these risk factors. And she said, that sign with the risk factors? She said, "You don't even have to have a risk factor on there. It could be anything at all." It was really funny listening to her talk about this. She's like, anything at all. You want the vaccine, come in and get the vaccine. Um, she said, "Because I want this room to be totally full all day." And so there's all these stages to the processing, and once you get up from your chair in this big receiving hall, they send you up to a table where somebody processes your paperwork. And amusingly enough, the gal who processed our paperwork was the same one who processed it on February 8th, which is chance. It's entirely chance. I mean, we were there at approximately the same time of day, but as soon as the gal who was sending people up by Rose said, "Go to that station there," I'm like, "Oh, that's the same gal we were with last time." And she was funny. As soon as we sat down, we gave her our registration cards, and she says, she goes, "Oh, look, this is my handwriting." She said, "You guys are back for your second dose." I'm like, "Yeah, isn't that funny?" And she was saying that they are twiddling their thumbs, that for the first couple of hours of the day, it's fairly busy, and then all afternoon long, there's like nobody in there. And she was even saying they open a separate door and just let people come straight in because people aren't coming. So, so this is my encouragement. I know many of you are not within driving distance of Amarillo, Texas, but if you are, if you remotely are, go get the vaccine. Jeez. Um, I'm probably not a good evangelist for it this morning when I'm like, "Oh my God, does my head hurt? My teeth hurt. I have a fever." Do you guys feel sorry for me? But it's so nice. It's so nice to be fully vaccinated. And I saw, the new CDC recommendations are that, people who are fully vaccinated can socialize with each other without masks or distancing. So it's we're finally coming out of this, and I just think it's amazing the people complaining. We've had it on our next door thing too, which is of course a cesspool anyway. But people so mad about people driving up to Amarillo or up to Alamosa, Colorado, to get the vaccine. They're like, "Oh, you guys are jumping the line," and it's like, there's actually not a line. it's, it's not like we are pushing people out of their wheelchairs in order to get up to the front. Uh, all of this vaccine is available, and there's these bottlenecks in the system. So I encourage you all, just don't let that bother you. Don't let the people who are bitching about this stuff uh, get in your way. Um, and I'm sure I will feel better tomorrow. I'll probably do a podcast tomorrow. My mother will be very happy. Happy birthday, um, to make up for not doing it yesterday. So let's see, let's do earrings today before I forget. These are another pair of earrings I know I've had since college, easily, possibly before that. And they are, my arm is very sore. It's very difficult to lift my arm. Um, they are sort of these dancing kitties with patterns on them. When I was younger, I believed that these patterns across the middle of them and the way they looked flattened out, that those were like tire tracks. And I would always call these roadkill kitties, which would really upset people. Which I actually understand better now. It's sort of like, well, Jeffy, you probably didn't. And they have little X's for eyes too. I guess I didn't explain it for those of you not on the visual, but it's they're cats, um, and they've kind of got their all four legs splayed out, and they've got little X's for eyes, and they're smiling, but then they have these designs across them that look like tire tracks to me. So I remember having conversations with people about it when they would say, "Oh, they're dancing kitties," and I'm like, "Oh, I think they're roadkill kitties." And they're like, "No, that's terrible." I don't know why I was so much more callous about it then. I found it kind of funny. People would get upset about that, and now I would not. Um, and and they've been with me all this time, both of them, both of them. So I do like these earrings, but I will forever think of them as roadkill kitties. And I say that with full love for my cats and so forth. So let's see. I know I had tons of things. So as I was driving, I had all these things that I wanted to talk to you guys about. And I was thinking I should make notes because I knew once I got home I wouldn't remember them. But one of them, and I kind of want to do like a conversation with Grace about this. But as I rather suspected, I haven't looked at this. David was telling me, but there's apparently a review of Dark Wizard where somebody goes on and on about the fact that the heroine drinks wine while she's pregnant, and they were going on about fetal alcohol syndrome and how there needs to be a like a I don't know. This is all like what David was telling me as we were driving. A wizard or something, some sort of magical support group to teach the heroine not to drink. And it was something that my agent Sarah brought up too, in the book. And these kinds of things are always very tricky. And Grace and I talked about this at length because when you're working with a non-tech fantasy world, people have a different understanding of physiology and of things like wine than we do. And so there are things that, like, if you put in there that, I mean, you can't put in fetal alcohol syndrome, that this is a problem. Um, because, and Grace even said, I said, I could put something in, referencing something. And she's like, it's just, it's so counter to the understanding of a fantasy world. And I mean, maybe this review came up with some good ideas for, like, how the healers see things and so forth. But I actually have very strong feelings about the whole women not drinking during pregnancy. And this, of course, this goes back to that I am a neurophysiologist by training, right? That I've studied a whole lot of stuff, and I've actually looked at the original studies on fetal alcohol syndrome, which is, I'm not going to say it's not a very real thing. It's a very real thing. I had a very good friend whose adopted son had fetal alcohol syndrome, and it caused him all sorts of problems. And part of the reason he was adopted was because his mother was not able to raise him. But The amount of alcohol that that a woman has to drink in order to induce fetal alcohol syndrome on the unborn child, on the fetus, is a phenomenal amount. It's the equivalent of falling down drunk every night, um, which, for people who have substance abuse issues, this is a very real thing because they might be getting falling down drunk every night. But, we often joke about in my family that I am a martini baby. I come by it honestly, that my mother, I was born at the end of August in Selma, Alabama, and they did not have air conditioning. And she would have her ice cold vodka martini every afternoon. And she looked forward to that. But she did have that martini every afternoon. And I mean, you guys can weigh in if you think that I've suffered ill effects, but in general, my brain works pretty well. So it's become this thing that happens so much with a lot of our medical system, but I think in particular happens with uh, women and pregnancies, that people want to control it so much that they think that you can there's sort of this implication that women can't be trusted to have like a glass or two of wine and be fine. um and they'll say, oh well, it's just better to not have any at all, just full stop, because um that way it removes all judgment. And one of the problems I have with this too is that it treats women as incubators, that a woman's primary responsibility is to provide this, you know, influence-free, this pristine incubator for the growing child, and it prioritizes the child over her. And we can get into this whole thing about, like alcohol, and people have very strong feelings about alcohol, and a lot of people are teetotalers and think that nobody should drink any wine or liquor at all ever. Certainly, that's a part of a number of religions and philosophies, which I respect, but it doesn't make it a universal truth that it is bad and wrong to drink wine. And so, yeah, I stand by that. Actually, I stand by that. Uh, Nick drinks wine, and that her baby is going to be just fine. I even thought about creating some kind of I don't know, like spell that makes the child impervious. But it's a funny thing because another set of studies that I researched pretty thoroughly were aspartame, NutraSweet, and aspartame has enormous effects on the developing neurological system. And and I think, I don't even know what the warnings are now. I think they say that children shouldn't have NutraSweet. Uh, the For a pregnant woman to drink a lot of aspartame or ingest a lot of aspartame is it's problematic, right? But we don't go bananas about that. So it's a funny thing. It's one of those things where people latch onto a particular idea. And I remember getting into an argument with one of my friends in college when we were drinking wine, as I recall. I think we were out for Italian food. Surely we were drinking red wine, um, where he basically came out and said that he would not allow his wife, his any woman who was pregnant with his child, that he would not allow them to have any wine at all, any liquor. And I'm sure the topic came up because I had been recently researching this stuff. And I was like, do you know how much alcohol you have to imbibe before there's fetal alcohol syndrome? And he's like, well, I just wouldn't allow my wife to have any. And I'm like, you wouldn't allow Excuse me? Uh, it's this thing that kicks in. That's like, oh, women stop being a person at a certain point and become the incubator, who is governed by rules that have nothing to do with their personhood. So, there's that. I'm sure that there is some unpopular opinions in there, but when you're writing fantasy, you just have to be kind of consider the implications of stuff. And it's funny to me how people will want to grab a hold of historical truths, even though it's an alternate world. So anyway, that's my discussion about that. I was thinking about trying to have a conversation with Grace about it, but maybe I've said everything I was going to say. I have other things I wanted to talk about too, but we'll save them for tomorrow when perhaps my head is a little bit clearer. And yeah, let's hope. And I don't know if I'm going to get any writing done today. David thinks I shouldn't. He says I should just take the day off, and I'm mulling. So, at any rate, I will remind you all that First Cup of Coffee is part of the Frolic Media Podcast Network, and you will find more podcasts you love at frolic.media/podcasts. And I will almost certainly talk to you all tomorrow. You all take care. Bye-bye.